talking about last year. First, Braylon, I want to ask you about revenge in the NFL. And we talked a little bit about this during the Seattle week. Because each year, specifically in the NFL, feels like a new year. I mean, it's not like a college where 90% of your team is probably the same and remembers what happened a year prior. Now, this year's Lions team, it feels like there are a lot of guys that are still on this roster. But is revenge a real thing? You know, specifically for a defense that gave up 320 yards on the ground last year. Their manhood was challenged.
Now, revenge is a real thing. I remember in 2010, we played the New England Patriots. I was with the Jets at the time. We beat them the first game, but the second game we played in Ryan, set up perfect. It was a Monday night game. The atmosphere was electric. It was at Gillette. We were both 9-2, fighting for division lead at the time. They were fighting for a share of it. And Ryan, they beat the brakes off our ass, 49-3. This is an NFL game I'm talking about, and they beat us 49-3. They handled us in the offense, they handled us in the defense, they handled us in special teams. Like, we all walked off that bus when we got back to Florham Park knowing that we had got literally and thoroughly drugged, if you will. When we played them that second time, when we played them in the playoffs, that week of practice leading up to it was so intense. You don't hit in the playoffs. We went pads on day one. This is in the playoffs, Ryan, second round. We went
That's
pads.
Rex, right?
Yeah, this is Rex. We went pads. Rex made us remember. It was always, we had little things, little quotes around the wall, stats posted of what the scores was and what this player did and that player did. We were seeing red from the time the week started, and I guarantee you that's what you're going to see down there at Allen Park. They got embarrassed last year. 320 yards on the ground in the NFL, that's a statement. You got manhandled. You got manhandled, and the game really wasn't close, 37-23, but it wasn't as close as that. This is a game we're starting today. When those guys came in, really after they lost the start in the locker, after they won start in the locker room, but those guys are hungry. Those guys are putting in the time. They're putting in the work. Games like last year, you got to make them go away, and the only way to make them go away is you got to do the same thing to that team.
And Matt, just a point about the fact that the game wasn't a 37-23 game. It wasn't that close. It was 31-7 in the third quarter.
It was bad.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was just a drop.
The only time it was close is when Carolina went right down to score, and the Lions came back to score.
Yeah, Shane Zylstra, 7-7.
And then that was it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
There's no doubt.
That was right around Christmas time. I remember that was like coal in the stocking.
Right.
And if I can say one last thing, right?
Sure.
It's also a statement game for the Lions to the fans. Like, it's also the Lions to the fans. And your fans don't care. You think that they just want you to win. The fans remember what happened last year, because what was also on the line that no one talks about? The playoffs.
Yeah. Last
year, the playoffs were on the line for the Lions. If they would have won out, Lions would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The fans remember that. They remember that you went down there to Carolina and dropped that dud. So you got to embarrass them so the Lions fans can understand that you took it as serious as they took it last year.
Just a point about that too, Bray. I mean, you talked about it last week, and playing on the road on a short week and in the division, I just wanted to win. I didn't care if it was 10-9. You thought a statement win would be what you were looking for, and you got that.
Because people are talking about the Lions all around the country again.
And we all got that.
Yeah.
And I think this, to me, feels like one of those statement games. Don't dilly-dally with these guys. As Dan Campbell said yesterday at the podium, this is a team that is desperate for a victory. They are dying for a win. They're going to punch you in the mouth. They're going to punch you hard. But just withstand it and just run over them. Like Mickey tells Rocky, run over them, run through them, like grease and lightning. Thunder. Yeah, right. So just go out there, take care. I'd love to see Teddy Bridgewater in this game in the fourth quarter.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I mean, this just feels like
get
one
us
of those,
some action.
Get Teddy Bridgewater some action in this one because it's a 3-4 touchdown lead in the fourth quarter.
That would be nice.
Kool-Aid, what are your thoughts on that, just being a Detroit Lions fan? Thinking about what that game in Carolina was last year. I mean, the Lions could have had a chance to go to the playoffs. They didn't. You as a fan, how are you thinking the Lions should approach this game?
Blow them out. That game last year, with everything, all the implications, as hard as they fought, man, you talking about a playoff spot that they took from you. I want them to go in there, and if you took over Lambeau the way you did, blow them out, man. Yeah. That's all I want to see. I want to see this squad kind of go into this game against the Panthers and kind of enforce their will. They've been stopping the run, so I don't think that that's going to be a problem this year. I don't at all. They got Bugs back in there. They got some other, the Emmanuel Mosley is going to be back. play nasty, play mean, and just go out there and just do work. Do work.
I have a little something. We talk about having Teddy Bridgewater coming at the end of the game. A guy was just activated that we just drafted, named Hendon Hooker. Could we put him in at the end of the game if it is such a blowout with the Carolina Panthers that maybe we get a couple reps out of him?
No, that man tore his ACL last year. You want this guy, because this is a guy, you got to look at it like this, Parker. This is a guy that, I know nobody's talking about it, but let's be honest. This is a guy that Brad Holmes drafted to potentially be the replacement for Matt Stafford, the replacement for Jared Goff. You don't want to risk the chance of getting him injured way this early when he doesn't have to play in there. This would be a Teddy Bridgewater game. Oh, by the way, where was he at 2 years ago? He was in Carolina.
No doubt. I wanted to play this from Lee McNeil. This was from the podium yesterday. Lee McNeil, who is playing as good a football as anybody on the defensive side for the Detroit Lions. Here's what he had to say about last year's game at Carolina.
Yeah, that was bad. In my opinion, it was a really bad taste in our mouths after that. And obviously we remember that coming into this week. And but it was a super bad taste. I keep it simple, just that it was a really bad taste. There's nothing else to really say about that one.
I mean, you talk about a guy, Bray, that is licking his chops to get after these guys.
Because there are other things that go on, Ryan and Monty. Ryan, when you miss the playoffs, you miss an extra check. You get paid extra money in the playoffs, money that you hadn't deemed necessary. You get a chance to be in the playoffs. You get a chance to, oh, man, this is what it's about. This is what the atmosphere is about. And now you see that if you make it to the playoffs, you got a shot. So if you're the Lions, you're like, we would have got in last year. Who knows? And what did you and Matt say the whole way down the stretch? This is a team that nobody wanted to do what? And play. Nobody wanted to play the Lions last year down that stretch. And Lee McNeil at defensive line, they know it. They're licking their chops. They're going to go out there and they're going to make them pay.
The Lions have allowed an NFL best 243 yards rushing. The Philadelphia Eagles after them. San Francisco 49ers after them. Jim Schwartz's Cleveland Browns after them. What they're doing, they are trying to make teams be one-dimensional. If you look around anybody, and we talked to Dan Miller about this a couple of weeks ago, what's the first area of business that a football coach wants to do in a game? Wants to establish the run and stop the run.
Yeah.
And the Lions have been able to do that. They outrushed Green Bay, outrushed them by 184 yards. I'm not sure there's been a Lions team to ever outrush anybody by that margin. I would love the Elias Sports Bureau.
Barry Sanders was a running back for years.
But I'm saying outrushed by. Just because Barry rushed for 200 doesn't mean that the Lions defense held them to 7, held the other team to 27.
No, you got a good point.
I'm talking about the gap there.
You're right.
So
I gave my friend the stat yesterday you brought up from Mike Payton from Detroit Lions A to Z, and where they rank now compared to these other Super Bowl giants like the 2000 Ravens, the 1985 Bears, the 86 Giants. Through 4 games, the Lions are with those teams, which is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
And in many cases,
Ahead of
above them.
Ahead of them.
Here's what Lee McNeil had to say about that Lions rush defense. Take a listen.
On the other side of things, our mentality, just who we are as a defense, who we are as a team. That's the identity we want to put out there. And then also we know we want to win games, and our key to winning games is helping stop the run. So, it's just a mentality thing, and then just being disciplined, just playing football, doing what we're coached to do. Nothing I'd say it's not really, something special going on. We're just playing good football, so.
That's right. Look, there's no secret sauce here.
Yeah.
We're just doing what we're supposed to do. We're winning those individual matchups, and if everybody wins their own individual matchup, Bray, it's a collective team success.
Everybody's buying in, everybody's playing together. Nobody cares about who's getting the sack. Nobody cares about who's getting the interception. Nobody cares about who's getting the credit on defense, because newsflash, Lloyd Carr told me, when the team wins, everybody wins. Everybody gets the credit, and that's what's going on right now. Benito Jones' name is coming up just as much as Lee McNeil, just as much as Isaiah Buggs, just as much as Brian Branch and Aiden Hutchinson, and so on and so on. When you play effort, when you legitimately go out there and say, my job is to beat my man, and you go and do it play after play after play, those oppositions, they start to go in that huddle, Ryan. Those huddles get a little uglier the more and more you get beat up. You're like, is somebody gonna block? It starts to get ugly in those huddles.